Welcome to Night Stories, where shadows whisper, nightmares crawl, and every tale drags you deeper into the dark. If you dare to listen, leave the lights off and let the night begin. I never thought I'd end up browsing Craigslist for a roommate, but life has a way of forcing your hand. At 28, I was fresh out of a breakup with my boyfriend of 3 years. Mark, the guy who swore he'd never cheat until I caught him in our bed with his coworker. The apartment we shared in Seattle's Capitol Hill was too expensive on my salary as a graphic designer, and the memories were like ghosts I couldn't afford to live with. So I posted an ad. Female seeking quiet, respectful roommate for 2-bed in vibrant neighborhood. $900 a month, utilities included. No pets, no drama. Responses flooded in, mostly from college kids or party types I vetoed immediately. Then came Emily's email. Short and to the point. Hi, I'm Emily, 32, work in admin at a tech firm. Clean, quiet, non-smoker. Available immediately. References available? Attached was a photo. A plain woman with mousy brown hair pulled into a ponytail, wearing a beige sweater, smiling faintly at the camera. Nothing flashy, but she seemed harmless. We met at a coffee shop near the apartment. She was punctual, dressed neatly in slacks and a blouse, and spoke in a soft, even tone. "I just need a place to crash after work," she said, stirring her black coffee without looking up much. "I keep to myself." Perfect, I thought. No red flags. We signed the lease addendum that week, and she moved in with minimal fuss. 2 suitcases and a few boxes. No furniture, no knickknacks. Her room was at the end of the hall, mine closer to the living room. The apartment was an old Victorian conversion, creaky floors and high ceilings, but cozy enough with my thrift store decor. Emily paid her deposit in cash, crisp bills, and that was that. The first few days were uneventful. I'd come home from my freelance gigs, hear the faint click of her door closing as she retreated to her room. We shared the kitchen awkwardly at first, me making pasta, her heating up microwave meals. "How was your day?" I'd ask, trying to be friendly. "Fine," she'd reply, eyes on her plate. No elaboration. She didn't watch TV in the common area, didn't blast music. Once I caught her staring out the window at the rainy street below, motionless for what felt like minutes. "Everything okay?" I ventured. She turned, her expression blank. "Yes, just thinking." Okay, introvert. I could respect that. I'd been one myself before Mark dragged me into social circles. But quiet turned to eerie pretty quick. Emily didn't seem to have friends. No phone calls, no visitors. Her work schedule was rigid, out by 7 a.m., back by 6 p.m. sharp. I'd hear her footsteps in the hall, soft, deliberate, and then silence from her room until morning. No typing, no TV murmurs, nothing. One evening I knocked on her door to ask if she wanted to split a pizza. "No, thank you," came the muffled response. When I persisted, suggesting we get to know each other, she opened the door a crack. Her face was pale, eyes wide like I'd interrupted something sacred. "I prefer my space," she said flatly. Door closed. I shrugged it off. Maybe she was dealing with her own breakup or family issues. I had my own problems, deadlines piling up, Mark texting apologies I ignored. To unwind, I'd curl up on the couch with Netflix, volume low out of courtesy. But sometimes I'd feel watched, like the air in the apartment shifted when she was home. Paranoia, I told myself. City living does that. A week in, things got weirder. I started noticing small discrepancies. My coffee mug, usually on the left side of the sink, would be on the right. A book I'd left open on the coffee table flipped to a different page. Once my laptop charger was unplugged and neatly coiled beside my bed, something I never do. "Emily, did you borrow my charger?" I asked over breakfast one morning. She paused mid-bite of toast. "No." Her voice was neutral, but her gaze lingered a second too long. "Must have been me forgetting," I muttered, feeling silly. Then came the notes. Not creepy ones at first, just post-its on the fridge. "Milk is low. Trash day tomorrow." Her handwriting was precise, almost mechanical, but one said, "Lock the door at night." I laughed it off when I saw it. "Thanks, Mom," I teased her later. She didn't smile. "It's for safety," she said seriously. "You never know who's out there." I started locking my bedroom door after that, more out of habit than fear. Seattle's not the safest, with homeless camps nearby and occasional break-ins reported on the neighborhood app. Emily's caution seemed practical, but lying in bed, I'd strained to hear any sounds from her room. Nothing. It was like she vanished behind that door. Work kept me busy, but the unease built. I'd catch glimpses of her in odd places, standing in the hallway shadows when I came home late from a client meeting, or hovering near the bathroom door as I showered. "Just grabbing a towel," she'd say if I asked. Her eyes, though, they'd track me unblinking like she was memorizing my routines. One night, after a particularly grueling day redesigning a logo for a picky client, I crashed early. Rain pattered against the window, lulling me into a deep sleep. Around 2 a.m., something jolted me awake. Not a noise exactly, more a presence. My room was dark, save for the faint glow of streetlights filtering through the blinds. I blinked, heart pounding for no reason, and that's when I saw her. Emily standing in my doorway, silent, just watching. She was silhouetted against the hall light she'd left on, her figure unmoving, hands limp at her sides. Pajama pants and a loose t-shirt, hair down around her shoulders. Her face was in shadow, but I could feel her eyes on me, fixed, unwavering. I froze, breath caught in my throat. "Emily?" I whispered, voice hoarse. No response. She didn't shift, didn't blink that I could tell. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. Was she sleepwalking? Having an episode? My mind raced, call out louder, get up, scream. Finally, I sat up, fumbling for the lamp. "What the hell are you doing?" The light clicked on, flooding the room. She blinked then, as if snapping out of a trance. "I thought I heard something," she said softly. "A noise. Like someone trying the door." Bullshit. There'd been no noise. My door was unlocked. Wait, had I forgotten? Adrenaline surged. "Get out," I snapped, sharper than intended. She backed away slowly, eyes still on me, then turned and padded down the hall. Her door clicked shut. I locked mine immediately, heart hammering. Sleep was impossible after that. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying it. Was she checking on me, or something worse? Mark's old warnings about strangers echoed in my head. By morning, doubt crept in. Maybe she was just concerned. Overprotective roommate syndrome. But as I sipped coffee alone in the kitchen, her note on the fridge caught my eye. "Sweet dreams." When had she written that? And why did it feel like a threat? I decided then I'd confront her tonight. Demand answers. Little did I know that was just the beginning. The day after Emily stood in my doorway, I couldn't shake the image of her silhouette, still as a statue, watching me. It clung to me like damp Seattle mist. I spent the morning at my desk, half working on a client's website mock-up, half obsessing over what to say to her. Confrontation wasn't my thing. Mark used to joke I'd rather email an argument than have it face-to-face, but this couldn't wait. I needed to know what her deal was. By noon, I'd drafted a mental script. Calm, direct, no accusations. "Hey, Emily, what was up last night? You freaked me out." I practiced it under my breath while making a sandwich, glancing at her closed door. She'd left for work at her usual 7 a.m. Her footsteps barely audible as she slipped out. The apartment felt lighter without her, but the unease lingered, like a bad smell I couldn't pinpoint. I checked the fridge for lunch stuff and saw her latest note. "Buy dish soap." No please, no signature, just her robotic handwriting. I crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. Enough with the Post-its. I'd talk to her tonight. Set boundaries, make it clear that creeping into my space wasn't okay. Work kept me distracted until 5 p.m., when I heard the front door creak open. My stomach twisted. Emily was home. I waited in the living room, pretending to scroll on my phone, as her footsteps moved past, slow, deliberate, straight to her room. "Oh, hi," no glance my way. Door shut, silence. I gave it an hour, hoping she'd emerge for dinner or something. Nothing. Finally, I steeled myself and knocked on her door. "Emily, can we talk?" My voice sounded too loud in the quiet apartment. A pause, then her muffled reply, "1 second." The door opened and there she was, still in her work slacks and blouse, hair in that same tight ponytail. Her face was blank, but her eyes locked onto mine, unblinking, like she was sizing me up. "What's up?" she asked, voice soft but clipped. I swallowed, my script faltering. "Last night, you were in my doorway. It was weird, scared me a bit." Her expression didn't change. "I told you, I thought I heard something. I was checking." "Checking what? You were just standing there staring. My door was open." She tilted her head slightly like a curious bird. "Was it? I didn't notice. I'm sorry if it upset you." No real apology in her tone, just words. Flat, rehearsed. "It did," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Look, I need to feel safe here. No coming into my room, okay? And maybe knock next time you need something." She nodded slowly. "Understood. I'll respect your space." Then, without another word, she stepped back and closed the door. Not slammed, gently, but final. I stood there feeling like I'd lost a chess match I didn't know I was playing. The next few days were quieter, but not better. Emily stuck to her routine. Work, home, room. No more notes, no more doorway incidents. But the air in the apartment felt heavier. I'd catch her watching me sometimes, brief glances when I was cooking or grabbing mail. Her eyes didn't linger long, but they were intense, like she was cataloging me. I started keeping my bedroom door locked all the time, even when I was home. The bolt's click became my nightly ritual. Then the noises started. At first I thought it was the building. Old places creak, right? But these were specific, soft thumps from Emily's room late at night, like she was moving something heavy. Once I swore I heard whispering, too faint to make out words. I pressed my ear to the wall we shared, heart racing, but it stopped. Probably her on the phone, I told myself. Except she never used her phone around me. No calls, no texts, nothing. I started digging. Not proud of it, but I was rattled. While she was at work, I Googled her name, Emily Carter. Common enough to get me nowhere. No LinkedIn, no social media, just a few unrelated hits. I even checked her references from her rental application. One was a former landlord, who confirmed she'd been a quiet tenant, paid on time. The other was a coworker who sounded annoyed when I called, saying Emily was fine, keeps to herself, before hanging up. Dead ends. Still, I felt like a creep for snooping. Friday night, I came home late from drinks with a friend, a rare break from my hermit routine. The apartment was dark, but Emily's door was cracked open, a sliver of light spilling into the hall. Odd. She was always so private. I flicked on the living room lamp, and that's when I saw it. My sketchbook open on the coffee table. I hadn't touched it in days. It lived on my desk. The page was one of my rough character designs for a client, a woman's face, half finished. Someone had drawn over it in pen, adding sharp, jagged lines around the eyes like cracks or tears. My breath caught. Emily. I marched to her door, ready to barge in, but hesitated. The light was off now, her room silent. Had she heard me come in? I knocked. "Emily, we need to talk, now." No answer. I pushed the door open, heart pounding. Her room was sparse, a twin bed, a small dresser, a single lamp. No photos, no decorations. Her suitcase sat in the corner, zipped shut. She wasn't there. I checked the bathroom, the kitchen, empty. The front door was still locked from the inside. Where the hell was she? Back in the living room, I grabbed my sketchbook, flipping through it. More pages had been touched. Faint pencil marks, smudges, like someone had traced my lines. My skin crawled. I locked myself in my room, shoved a chair under the knob for good measure, and barely slept. Morning came, gray and rainy. Emily was in the kitchen when I emerged, eating cereal like nothing had happened. "Morning," she said, not looking up. "Did you touch my sketchbook?" I blurted, no preamble. She paused, spoon halfway to her mouth. "No, why?" "Someone drew in it. It was on the coffee table last night, not where I left it." Her eyes met mine, steady, unreadable. "I was in my room all night. Maybe you misplaced it." "I didn't." My voice shook. "And you weren't in your room when I got home." She set her spoon down, deliberate. "I was asleep. You must have missed me." A faint smile, the first I'd seen in days. "You sound stressed. Maybe take a break from work." I wanted to scream. Instead, I grabbed my coffee and left for a cafe to work. The whole day I couldn't focus. Was she lying, gaslighting me, or was I losing it, seeing things that weren't there? Mark's voice echoed in my head. You overthink everything, babe. But this wasn't overthinking, this was real. That night I set a trap. I left my sketchbook out again, this time with a tiny pencil mark on the corner of a page, easy to miss unless you were looking. I stayed up, lights off, listening. Around 1 a.m. I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, creeping. The floor creaked outside my door. I held my breath, waiting for the knob to turn, but it didn't. Instead, I heard pages rustling in the living room. I flung open my door, phone flashlight blazing. Emily froze, my sketchbook in her hands, eyes wide like a deer in headlights. What the hell are you doing? I shouted. She dropped the book, backing away. I was just looking. It's beautiful work. You lied to me. You've been in my stuff, haven't you? What's wrong with you? Her face crumpled, but not into tears. Something colder, like a mask slipping. You don't understand, she whispered. I just wanted to know you. Before I could respond, she bolted to her room and slammed the door. I stood there, shaking, sketchbook at my feet. The pencil mark was smudged, and a new note was tucked inside. I see you. I kindly ask you to like and subscribe if you like my stories. Let's continue with the next story. The mall parking lot stretched out like a gray desert, the late afternoon sun baking the asphalt until it shimmered. My arms ached from carrying bags filled with clothes I'd convinced myself I needed. The air smelled of exhaust and something faintly sour, like spilled soda left to fester. My car was parked in the far corner, row J, spot 17, because I'd been too stubborn to circle back for a closer space. As I trudged past a rusted minivan, a voice cut through the hum of distant traffic. Hey, Sarah! I froze, my sneakers scuffing against the pavement. The voice was sharp, almost cheerful, but it carried an edge I couldn't place. I turned, scanning the lot. A man stood about 30 yards away, near a cluster of cars by the mall's west entrance. He was waving, his hand high and insistent, like he was flagging down a friend. Average build, dark jacket, baseball cap pulled low. I didn't recognize him. My name's Sarah, sure, but I hadn't told anyone here. Not the cashier who rang up my jeans, not the barista who'd misspelled my name on my latte cup earlier. No one. I squinted, trying to make out his face, but the cap's shadow obscured his features. He kept waving, his grin wide and unnerving, like he knew me from somewhere I couldn't remember. My stomach twisted. I raised a hand halfway, more out of reflex than acknowledgement, and started walking again, faster this time. The bags bounced against my thighs, plastic handles digging into my palms. Sarah, wait up, he called again, louder. His voice echoed off the cars, and I caught the sound of footsteps, quick, deliberate. I didn't look back. My car was close now, the silver glint of my sedan visible between a pickup and an SUV. I fumbled for my keys in my purse, my fingers brushing past receipts and lip balm. The footsteps grew louder, closer, crunching on loose gravel. I reached my car and hit the unlock button. The chirp felt too loud, like it was announcing my location. I tossed the bags into the back seat, slid into the driver's seat, and locked the doors. My heart was hammering, though I told myself I was overreacting. Just some guy, probably mistaking me for someone else. Happens all the time, right? I checked the rearview mirror. He was still there, standing in the middle of the lot now, maybe 20 yards away. Not moving, just watching. His hands were in his pockets, his head tilted slightly, like he was studying me. I started the engine, the rumble steadying my nerves. But as I shifted into reverse, my phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from an unknown number. My breath caught as I glanced at the screen. Hey Sarah, you forgot your scarf at the store. I hadn't worn a scarf today. I hadn't even been near the accessories section. My fingers hovered over the phone, unsure whether to respond or ignore it. The guy was still standing there, motionless, his grin gone. I pulled out of the spot, keeping him in my peripheral vision. As I drove toward the exit, he turned and walked back toward the mall, his pace casual, like nothing had happened. By the time I hit the highway, my pulse had slowed, but my mind was racing, How did he know my name? The text could have been a coincidence, some wrong number, but the timing felt wrong. I tried to replay the day in my head. I'd gone to 3 stores: the clothing outlet, the bookstore, the coffee shop. I'd paid with my card at all of them. My name was on the receipts, sure, but who reads those? And the scarf thing. Nobody could have seen me drop something I didn't have. At home, I locked the door and dumped the bags on the couch. The text sat unanswered on my phone. I opened it again, staring at the words. No area code I recognized, just a string of numbers. I typed out a reply, "Who is this?" but deleted it. Engaging felt like a bad idea. Instead, I called my friend Jess, who's always been the practical one. "Probably just some creep," she said, her voice crackling through the speaker. "Malls are full of weirdos. Maybe he overheard your name at the coffee shop or something." "Yeah, maybe," I said, but it didn't sit right. The barista had called out my order, sure, but that guy hadn't been in the coffee shop. I'd have noticed him. Wouldn't I? "Check the mall's security cams," Jess suggested. "They've got those everywhere. If he's a regular creep, they might know him." It was a good idea. I hung up and Googled the mall's security office, jotting down the number. But as I dialed, another text came through from the same number. "You looked nice in that blue top today." My blood ran cold. I'd bought a blue top at the outlet, tried it on in the fitting room. No one could have seen me except the store clerk, and she'd been a bored 20-something scrolling her phone. I set my phone down, hands shaking, and double-checked the locks on my doors. The apartment felt too quiet, the hum of the fridge suddenly too loud. I called the mall security office, my voice steadier than I felt. The guy who answered sounded half asleep, but he perked up when I mentioned the man in the lot. "We get reports like that sometimes," he said. "Can you describe him?" "Average height, dark jacket, baseball cap, maybe 30, 40. Hard to tell. He knew my name." The guard paused. "You sure you didn't know him? People sometimes forget faces." "I'm sure," I snapped. "Can you check the cameras?" "We can try. West lot, you said. Around what time?" 4:30, maybe 4:40. He promised to look and took my number. I hung up, feeling marginally better, but the texts kept nagging at me. I blocked the number, but not before screenshotting them. Evidence, just in case. I didn't sleep much that night, every creak in the apartment making me jump. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was a one-off, some random guy trying to mess with me. But when I checked my phone, there was a new message from a different number. "Did you like the jeans you bought, Sarah? They fit you well." I dropped the phone like it burned. This wasn't random anymore. Someone had been watching me, close enough to know what I'd bought, what I'd tried on. I called security again, but the same guy told me the cameras in that section of the lot were down for maintenance that day. No footage, no answers. I didn't go back to the mall. I started checking my surroundings constantly. Parking lots, grocery stores, even my own street. The texts kept coming, always from new numbers. "Nice haircut, Sarah. You should smile more. Why'd you block me?" Each one felt like a finger brushing the back of my neck. I stopped responding, stopped going out unless I had to. Jess offered to stay over, but I didn't want to drag her into whatever this was. Then a week later, I found a scarf on my doorstep. Navy blue, soft, with a faint smell of cologne. A note was pinned to it. "Told you forgot this." No signature. I didn't touch it. I called the police, but they said there wasn't much they could do without a clear suspect. "Could be a prank," the officer said, like that was supposed to comfort me. I started digging. The mall's social media had a few complaints about weird guys hanging around, but nothing specific. I checked my own accounts, wondering if I'd posted anything that could have given me away. Nothing. My profiles were private, my name barely mentioned. Whoever this was, they weren't just guessing. The next day, I got another text. "You're being careful now, aren't you, Sarah? That's smart." I stared at it, my throat tight. They knew I was scared. They were watching me figure it out. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and disinfectant. I sat across from Officer Delaney, a stocky guy with a mustache that looked like it belonged in a 70s cop show. My hands were clammy, clutching the Ziploc bag with the scarf and note. The texts were on my phone, screenshots printed out in a neat stack on his desk. He skimmed them, his face unreadable, then leaned back in his chair. No direct threats here, he said, tapping the papers. Creepy, sure, but not enough for a restraining order. You got any enemies? Ex-boyfriend, maybe? No, I said, my voice tight. No exes, no enemies, I keep to myself. I'd already told him this, but he kept circling back like I was hiding some soap opera drama. I wasn't. My life was quiet. Work, home, occasional drinks with Jess. Nobody had a reason to fixate on me. He nodded, scribbling something on a notepad. We'll file a report, check the numbers on those texts. Burners are hard to trace, though, and the scarf. He glanced at the bag. No prints likely, but we'll send it to the lab. You got cameras at your place? No, I'm in an apartment, just a peephole. I regretted not installing one of those cheap doorbell cams Jess had nagged me about. Get one, he said, and stay off that mall for a while. We'll patrol the lot, see if anything turns up. I left the station feeling no better than when I'd walked in. The scarf was still in their evidence locker, but the note's words were burned into my head. Told you forgot this. It wasn't just the stalking. It was the taunting. The way they wanted me to know they were close. I drove home with one eye on the rearview mirror, checking for any car that lingered too long. Back at my apartment, I ordered a security camera online, overnight shipping. While I waited, I tore through my place looking for anything out of order. I checked drawers, closets, even under the couch, half expecting to find something planted. Nothing, just my own paranoia staring back at me. I called Jess again, needing her no-nonsense voice to anchor me. You need to stay with me for a bit, she said. This is getting weird, Sarah. I can't just run, I said, pacing my living room. What if they follow me? What if they know where you live, too? The thought made my skin crawl. I hadn't told Jess about the latest text. You're being careful now, aren't you, Sarah? Because I didn't want her freaking out as much as I was. She sighed. Okay, but you're not staying alone tonight. I'm coming over. Jess arrived an hour later with a bottle of wine and a baseball bat she kept in her car for emergencies. We laughed about it, but the sound was hollow. We sat on my couch, the TV on low, some mindless reality show neither of us cared about. I kept my phone face down, afraid of another text. Around 9 p.m., it buzzed anyway. Jess grabbed it before I could. Another one, she said, her face paling. She showed me the screen. You and Jess look cozy tonight. My stomach dropped. I ran to the window, yanking the curtains shut. Jess was already on her feet, bat in hand, checking the door's locks. They're watching us, I whispered, my voice barely audible. Right now. Call the cops again, Jess said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. I dialed Delaney's direct line, left a voicemail when he didn't pick up. Jess and I stayed up, taking turns keeping watch by the window. Nothing moved outside, just the occasional car passing, headlights cutting through the dark. The next morning, the camera arrived. I set it up at my door, the app pinging my phone with every motion in the hallway. Most were just neighbors, a delivery guy, a stray cat. But at 3:17 a.m., the night before, the footage showed a figure pausing outside my door. Hood up, face obscured, they stood there for exactly 13 seconds before walking off. No scarf, no note, just presence. I sent the clip to Delaney, who called back to say they'd look into it, but warned the footage was too vague for an ID. I stopped going to work. My boss was sympathetic, letting me work remotely, but I could tell she thought I was overreacting. Maybe I was. But the texts kept coming, always from new numbers. Missed you at the mall today. That camera's a nice touch. Why so quiet, Sarah? Each one chipped away at my sanity. I started sleeping with a kitchen knife under my pillow, the cold metal a grim comfort. Jess pushed me to dig deeper. We went through my social media again, looking for any clue. I hadn't posted in weeks, but I noticed something odd. A new follower on my private Instagram. No profile picture, just a string of random letters for a username. I blocked them, but not before noticing they'd liked a photo from months ago. One I'd taken at the mall's food court. I hadn't even captioned it with my name. Could be a bot, Jess said, but her voice lacked conviction. We Googled the username, found nothing. I started searching the mall's online reviews again, combing through complaints about loiterers or staff. One post on a local forum caught my eye. A woman saying she'd been followed in the same mall a year ago. Some guy in a cap who'd known her name. She'd moved away after. No follow-up, no resolution. I called Delaney again, mentioning the forum post. He sounded tired. "We're stretched thin, Sarah. No clear suspect, no actionable evidence. Keep us posted if anything escalates." Escalates. The word made my blood boil. Wasn't this enough? But I knew he was right. Texts and a scarf weren't enough to catch someone. I started wondering if I'd missed something obvious. The store clerk? The barista? Someone in the parking lot I hadn't noticed? I pulled up the mall's website, scrolling through their employee directory. Nobody stood out, but I saved screenshots anyway, faces to compare if I ever saw that man again. That night, Jess went home, promising to check in hourly. I sat alone, the camera app open on my phone, the knife within reach. At 11:43 p.m., the app pinged. Motion detected. I opened the live feed, expecting the cat or a neighbor. Instead, it was him. Same dark jacket, same cap, standing just out of the camera's full view. He didn't approach the door, just lingered, head tilted like he knew I was watching. Then he raised a hand, waved slowly, and walked away. I didn't call the police. I was too frozen, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. When I finally checked the footage again, I noticed something new. Tucked into the corner of my door frame was a small folded piece of paper. I didn't want to open the door, but I had to know. I grabbed the knife, cracked the door just enough, and snatched it. The note was short, written in sharp, blocky letters. "I'm closer than you think, Sarah." Clipped to it was a photo, a grainy shot of me in the mall parking lot, walking to my car, bags in hand. It was from that day, the day this all started. I locked the door, sank to the floor, and stared at the photo, my own face staring back, oblivious to the eyes already on me. The next morning, I packed a bag and went to Jess's. I couldn't stay in that apartment anymore, but even at her place, the texts didn't stop. The last one came as I was writing this, from yet another number. "Running won't help, Sarah. I know where you are." Jess's apartment was a lifeline, but it didn't feel safe. Not anymore. The walls were too thin, the windows too exposed, and every creak of the floorboard sent my pulse racing. I'd brought the knife, the screenshots, the note, and that grainy photo of me in the parking lot. Jess insisted I stay indefinitely, but I could see the strain in her eyes. She was scared too, even if she wouldn't admit it. The latest text, "Running won't help, Sarah. I know where you are," had come an hour after I'd arrived at her place. Whoever this was, they weren't guessing. They knew. I stopped sleeping. Coffee and adrenaline kept me going, but my hands shook constantly. Jess and I spent the first day at her place strategizing. We installed a second camera at her door, linking it to both our phones. We scoured the internet for anything. More forum posts, local news, even missing persons reports, hoping to find a pattern. There was nothing concrete, just vague stories about creepy guys at the mall or parking lots nearby. One woman on a neighborhood app mentioned a man in a cap who'd followed her to her car last month, but she hadn't reported it. I saved her post, my gut telling me it was connected. Officer Delaney called back that afternoon. The scarf had no prints, no DNA. The phone numbers were burners, untraceable. The photo from my doorstep was too low res to pull any details. No license plates, no clear background. "We're patrolling the mall in your building," he said. But his tone was flat, like he was reading a script. "Stay vigilant. Let us know if you see him again." Vigilant. I was barely functioning. Jess pushed me to eat, but food tasted like ash. Every notification on my phone felt like a bomb. The next text came that night. "Jess's couch looks comfy, Sarah." I dropped the phone, my vision tunneling. Jess grabbed it, read the message, and immediately called the police. They sent a patrol car to sweep her complex, but found nothing. No man in a cap, no suspicious cars, just another dead end. I couldn't stay at Jess's anymore. I was putting her in danger, but going back to my place wasn't an option either. I booked a cheap motel 20 miles away, paying cash, using a fake name. Jess drove me, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. "This is insane," she muttered. "You can't keep running." I don't know what else to do, I said, staring out the window. The motel was a dingy strip of rooms off the highway, the kind of place nobody asks questions. I checked in, locked the door, and wedged a chair under the knob. The camera at Jess's place was still linked to my phone, and I kept the app open, watching for any sign of him. At 2 a.m., the motel's Wi-Fi dropped. My phone switched to data, and a new text pinged. Motel life, huh? Room 12 suits you. My breath stopped. I was in room 12. I grabbed the knife, checked the lock, the chair, the window. The parking lot outside was empty except for a beat-up sedan and a truck. No one was out there. I called the front desk, my voice shaking, asking if anyone had asked about me. The clerk, half asleep, said no. I didn't believe him. I called Jess, whispering so no one outside could hear. He knows where I am, again. Get out of there, she said. Come back here or go to the police station, now. I couldn't move. The idea of stepping into that dark parking lot paralyzed me. Instead, I sat on the bed, knife in hand, watching the door until dawn. No one knocked, no one called, but at 6:13 a.m., another text. You didn't sleep much, did you? Attached was a photo of the motel's exterior, my room's window in the frame. Curtains parted just enough to show the edge of my silhouette. I checked out at first light, driving aimlessly, until I ended up at a 24-hour diner. I sat in a booth, nursing coffee, trying to piece it together. How was he tracking me? My phone? My car? I'd paid cash at the motel, hadn't told anyone where I was going. I Googled tracking devices and found articles about GPS trackers hidden on cars. It seemed far-fetched, but I couldn't rule it out. I drove to a mechanic, a small shop I'd never been to, and asked them to check my car. They found nothing, no trackers, no bugs, just a dirty air filter and a loose hubcap. Back at the diner, I called Delaney one last time. I can't keep doing this, I said. He's following me everywhere, he knows where I sleep. Delaney sighed. We're doing what we can, Sarah, without a face, a name, something solid. He trailed off. You got anyone you can stay with out of town? I hung up, defeated. Out of town wasn't an option. I had no family nearby, no one I could burden with this. Jess was already too involved. But sitting there, staring at my cold coffee, something clicked. The mall. It all started there. If I was going to end this, I had to go back. I drove to the mall that afternoon, heart pounding. It was a weekday, the lot half empty. I parked near the west entrance where I'd first seen him. The camera above the door was working now. I could see its red light blinking. I walked inside, scanning every face, every shadow. The clerk at the clothing store didn't recognize my description of the man. Neither did the barista. But at the bookstore, the cashier hesitated when I mentioned the cap and jacket. I've seen someone like that, she said, frowning. Hangs out in the lot sometimes near the service exit. Never comes in, just watches. I left the store, my skin prickling. The service exit was around back, a narrow alley with dumpsters and employee cars. I didn't go near it. I wasn't that reckless. But I called Delaney, told him what the cashier said. He promised to send a car to check the alley. That night I stayed at Jess's again. Both of us jumpy, the bat by the door. No texts came. The silence was worse than the messages. The next morning, Delaney called. They'd found a guy in the alley, mid-30s, dark jacket, cap. No ID, no record, but he'd been carrying a burner phone and a notebook with names, dates, and descriptions. Mine was in there. Sarah, blue top, jeans, mall, 4:30 p.m. The dates matched the texts, the scarf, the photo. He's in custody, Delaney said. We're holding him on suspicion of stalking, but we need you to come in, see if you can ID him. I went to the station, my stomach in knots. They showed me a lineup through a one-way mirror. Number 3 was him. Average build, sharp jaw, eyes that didn't blink enough. I nodded, my voice gone. It was him. They charged him with stalking and harassment, but his lawyer was already pushing for a deal. No priors, no hard evidence tying him to the texts beyond the notebook. He claimed he was just observing, some sick hobby. I didn't care why. I just wanted it over. I moved a month later, a new city, a new number. No more texts, no more notes. But I still check my locks twice, Keep a knife close. Avoid parking lots after dark. Sometimes, late at night, I wake up certain I hear footsteps. I tell myself it's over, that he's gone. But I know how easy it is to be watched, to be known by someone you'll never see coming. I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror one last time before stepping out of my car. My makeup was holding up, smoky eyes, a touch of red lipstick, and my black dress hugged my figure just right. Not too flashy for Sarah's birthday bash, but enough to feel confident. It was one of those warm September evenings in the suburbs, the kind where the air smells like cut grass and distant barbecues. Sarah's house was already alive with music thumping from inside, cars lining the street, and laughter spilling out onto the porch. Sarah and I had been friends since college, back when we bonded over late-night cram sessions and bad ex-boyfriends. Her parties were always low-key but fun. Good wine, better gossip, and a mix of mutual friends from work and our old dorm days. I was looking forward to unwinding after a brutal week at the office, where deadlines had me glued to my desk until my eyes burned. I knocked once, but the door was ajar, so I pushed it open. The living room was packed, clusters of people chatting over plastic cups, a few dancing awkwardly in the corner to some indie playlist. Sarah spotted me immediately and squealed, pulling me into a hug that smelled like vanilla perfume and tequila. "Emily, you made it. God, you look amazing. Come on, let's get you a drink." She dragged me to the kitchen, where the counter was a battlefield of half-empty bottles and snack bowls. We caught up quickly, her new job promotion, my disastrous blind date last weekend, before she got pulled away by another guest. I poured myself a gin and tonic, heavy on the tonic, and scanned the room for familiar faces. That's when I noticed him. He was standing by the bookshelf, alone, nursing a beer, tall, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair cropped short and a neatly trimmed beard. He wore a gray button-down shirt tucked into jeans. Nothing out of place, but something about him felt off, like he was observing rather than participating. Our eyes met, and he smiled, a polite, disarming grin that made me smile back instinctively. I turned to chat with Mike, Sarah's co-worker, about some office drama, but when I glanced over again, the guy was closer, weaving through the crowd toward me. He stopped a respectful distance away, but his presence felt immediate. "Hi," he said, voice smooth and warm like a radio host. "I'm Alex, friend of Sarah's from way back." "Emily?" I replied, shaking his extended hand. It was firm, dry, not clammy or anything creepy. "How do you know Sarah?" "Old neighborhood stuff. We grew up a few blocks apart." He tilted his head. "You?" "College roommates, best decision I ever made." He chuckled. "Yeah, she mentioned you. Said you're the one who got her into hiking." I paused, mid-sip. Sarah had dragged me on a few trails last summer, but it wasn't exactly a defining trait. "Did she? That's funny. I'm more of a reluctant tag-along." The conversation flowed easily at first. We talked about the city, traffic woes, favorite coffee spots. He seemed normal, charming even. But then the questions started shifting. "So, Emily, how's the new apartment treating you? The one on Elm Street, right? Bet the view from the balcony is killer at sunset." My stomach tightened. How did he know about my apartment? I'd moved in 3 months ago after my breakup with Josh. I hadn't posted about it on social media, too paranoid about privacy settings, and Sarah wasn't the type to broadcast details like that. Yeah, it's great. How'd you know about Elm Street?" He shrugged, casual as anything. "Sarah must have mentioned it. She's always bragging about her friends' upgrades." Okay, plausible. Sarah did love to overshare sometimes. I relaxed a bit, laughing it off. We chatted more, work, hobbies. He asked about my job in marketing, nodding like he understood the grind. "But then, that campaign you did for the eco brand last year, the one with the recycled materials pitch, that was smart. How'd you come up with the tagline?" I froze. That project was internal. It hadn't gone public yet due to client delays. Only my team and a few close friends knew the details. Sarah wasn't one of them. I'd vented to her about the stress, but not specifics. "Wait, how do you know about that?" Alex blinked, then smiled wider. "Oh, come on, word gets around. Sarah's in the loop on everything." No, she wasn't. My mind raced. Was he a colleague I'd forgotten? No, I knew everyone at the firm, a friend of a friend? Maybe. But the unease was creeping in, like a chill draft in a warm room. I excused myself to grab another drink, weaving through the crowd to find Sarah. She was in the backyard, laughing with a group around the fire pit. I pulled her aside. "Hey, who's that Alex guy? The one by the bookshelf earlier?" Sarah frowned, scanning the yard. "Alex doesn't ring a bell. Describe him." "Tall, dark hair, beard. Said he's from your old neighborhood." She shook her head, sipping her wine. "Nope. I grew up in a tiny cul-de-sac, knew everyone, no Alex. Maybe he's with someone else?" My pulse quickened. He knew stuff about me, like personal stuff, my apartment, work projects. Sarah's eyes widened. "That's weird. You okay? Want me to ask around?" I nodded, but when we went back inside, he was gone. Vanished into the party like smoke. I checked the living room, kitchen, even peeked upstairs. No sign. The front door was still ajar, but the street outside was quiet. The rest of the night blurred. I stuck close to Sarah and our friends, forcing laughs, but my mind kept replaying his words. How did he know? Stalking? But why? I hadn't dated anyone new. No creepy encounters lately. By midnight, I called it quits, hugging Sarah goodbye. "Text me when you get home," she said, concern etching her face. The drive back was tense. Every shadow in the rear view seemed to move. I locked my doors twice at red lights. Home on Elm Street felt less safe now, the balcony view mocking me. I double-checked the locks, drew the curtains. My phone buzzed as I climbed into bed. A text from an unknown number. "Great talking tonight, Emily. We should catch up more. Remember that scar on your knee from the bike accident in 3rd grade? Cute story." My blood ran cold. That scar, tiny, faded. I'd only told a handful of people years ago, not Sarah. Not anyone at the party. Who the hell was he? I blocked the number, but sleep didn't come. The apartment felt too quiet, too exposed. Morning light filtered in, but the dread lingered. I called Sarah first thing. "Em, you okay?" That Alex guy, he texted me. Knew about my childhood scar. Islands. Then, "Emily, I swear I didn't invite anyone like that. I checked with everyone last night. No one brought a +1 named Alex." My hands shook. "Then how did he get in? How does he know me?" "I don't know, but lock your doors, I'm coming over." As I waited, another text pinged from a different number. "See you soon, Emily. We have so much more to talk about." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This wasn't random, this was targeted. But why me? What did he want? The doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole, Sarah looking worried. I opened the door, relief flooding me. But as she stepped inside, her eyes flicked to my phone on the counter. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I lied, forcing a smile, but deep down I wondered, how well did I really know her? I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror one last time before stepping out of my car. My makeup was holding up, smoky eyes, a touch of red lipstick, and my black dress hugged my figure just right. Not too flashy for Sarah's birthday bash, but enough to feel confident. It was one of those warm September evenings in the suburbs, the kind where the air smells like cut grass and distant barbecues. Sarah's house was already alive with music thumping from inside, cars lining the street, and laughter spilling out onto the porch. Sarah and I had been friends since college, back when we bonded over late-night cram sessions and bad ex-boyfriends. Her parties were always low-key but fun. Good wine, better gossip, and a mix of mutual friends from work and our old dorm days. I was looking forward to unwinding after a brutal week at the office, where deadlines had me glued to my desk until my eyes burned. I knocked once, but the door was ajar, so I pushed it open. The living room was packed, clusters of people chatting over plastic cups, a few dancing awkwardly in the corner to some indie playlist. Sarah spotted me immediately and squealed, pulling me into a hug that smelled like vanilla perfume and tequila. "Emily, you made it. God, you look amazing. Come on, let's get you a drink." She dragged me to the kitchen, where the counter was a battlefield of half-empty bottles and snack bowls. We caught up quickly, her new job promotion, my disastrous blind date last weekend, before she got pulled away by another guest. I poured myself a gin and tonic, heavy on the tonic, and scanned the room for familiar faces. That's when I noticed him. He was standing by the bookshelf, alone, nursing a beer. Tall, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair cropped short and a neatly trimmed beard. He wore a gray button-down shirt tucked into jeans. Nothing out of place, but something about him felt off, like he was observing rather than participating. Our eyes met, and he smiled, a polite, disarming grin that made me smile back instinctively. I turned to chat with Mike, Sarah's co-worker, about some office drama, but when I glanced over again, the guy was closer, weaving through the crowd toward me. He stopped a respectful distance away, but his presence felt immediate. "Hi," he said, voice smooth and warm like a radio host. "I'm Alex, friend of Sarah's from way back." "Emily?" I replied, shaking his extended hand. It was firm, dry, not clammy or anything creepy. "How do you know Sarah?" "Old neighborhood stuff. We grew up a few blocks apart." He tilted his head. "You?" "College roommates, best decision I ever made." He chuckled. "Yeah, she mentioned you. Said you're the one who got her into hiking." I paused, mid-sip. Sarah had dragged me on a few trails last summer, but it wasn't exactly a defining trait. "Did she? That's funny. I'm more of a reluctant tag-along." The conversation flowed easily at first. We talked about the city, traffic woes, favorite coffee spots. He seemed normal, charming even. But then the questions started shifting. "So, Emily, how's the new apartment treating you? The one on Elm Street, right? Bet the view from the balcony is killer at sunset." My stomach tightened. How did he know about my apartment? I'd moved in 3 months ago after my breakup with Josh. I hadn't posted about it on social media, too paranoid about privacy settings, and Sarah wasn't the type to broadcast details like that. Yeah, it's great. How'd you know about Elm Street?" He shrugged, casual as anything. "Sarah must have mentioned it. She's always bragging about her friends' upgrades." Okay, plausible. Sarah did love to overshare sometimes. I relaxed a bit, laughing it off. We chatted more, work, hobbies. He asked about my job in marketing, nodding like he understood the grind. "But then, that campaign you did for the eco brand last year, the one with the recycled materials pitch, that was smart. How'd you come up with the tagline?" I froze. That project was internal. It hadn't gone public yet due to client delays. Only my team and a few close friends knew the details. Sarah wasn't one of them. I'd vented to her about the stress, but not specifics. "Wait, how do you know about that?" Alex blinked, then smiled wider. "Oh, come on, word gets around. Sarah's in the loop on everything." No, she wasn't. My mind raced. Was he a colleague I'd forgotten? No, I knew everyone at the firm, a friend of a friend? Maybe. But the unease was creeping in, like a chill draft in a warm room. I excused myself to grab another drink, weaving through the crowd to find Sarah. She was in the backyard, laughing with a group around the fire pit. I pulled her aside. "Hey, who's that Alex guy? The one by the bookshelf earlier?" Sarah frowned, scanning the yard. "Alex doesn't ring a bell. Describe him." "Tall, dark hair, beard. Said he's from your old neighborhood." She shook her head, sipping her wine. "Nope. I grew up in a tiny cul-de-sac, knew everyone, no Alex. Maybe he's with someone else?" My pulse quickened. He knew stuff about me, like personal stuff, my apartment, work projects. Sarah's eyes widened. "That's weird. You okay? Want me to ask around?" I nodded, but when we went back inside, he was gone. Vanished into the party like smoke. I checked the living room, kitchen, even peeked upstairs. No sign. The front door was still ajar, but the street outside was quiet. The rest of the night blurred. I stuck close to Sarah and our friends, forcing laughs, but my mind kept replaying his words. How did he know? Stalking? But why? I hadn't dated anyone new. No creepy encounters lately. By midnight, I called it quits, hugging Sarah goodbye. "Text me when you get home," she said, concern etching her face. The drive back was tense. Every shadow in the rear view seemed to move. I locked my doors twice at red lights. Home on Elm Street felt less safe now, the balcony view mocking me. I double-checked the locks, drew the curtains. My phone buzzed as I climbed into bed. A text from an unknown number. Great talking tonight, Emily. We should catch up more. Remember that scar on your knee from the bike accident in 3rd grade? Cute story. My blood ran cold. That scar, tiny, faded. I'd only told a handful of people years ago, not Sarah. Not anyone at the party. Who the hell was he? I blocked the number, but sleep didn't come. The apartment felt too quiet, too exposed. Morning light filtered in, but the dread lingered. I called Sarah first thing. Em, you okay? That Alex guy, he texted me. Knew about my childhood scar. In Islands. Then, Emily, I swear I didn't invite anyone like that. I checked with everyone last night. No one brought a +1 named Alex. My hands shook. Then how did he get in? How does he know me? I don't know, but lock your doors, I'm coming over. As I waited, another text pinged from a different number. See you soon, Emily. We have so much more to talk about. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This wasn't random, this was targeted. But why me? What did he want? The doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole, Sarah looking worried. I opened the door, relief flooding me. But as she stepped inside, her eyes flicked to my phone on the counter. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied, forcing a smile, but deep down I wondered, how well did I really know her? Thank you for listening. Hope you didn't get too scared. If you want to listen more stories, check out my channel. Please leave a like and subscribe. It means the whole world to me.